Every sign's strongest hours today, and the one stretch that suits routine work rather than fresh starts, are coming up in this reading. A warm welcome to you. These readings follow your Western sun sign in the tropical zodiac, with the houses counted from that sign, so listen for the sign the sun was in when you were born. Times here are New York time. Today carries a full moon with the moon in Aquarius, a clear-headed tone that favors seeing the whole picture. The quiet pause runs from 5:26 in the evening yesterday to 8:13 in the morning, and that is your routine stretch. Continue, tidy, and revisit rather than launch something brand new. Readings today are from your sun sign. The link below finds yours in 10 seconds. The sun is in Leo and enters Virgo in 22 days. One exact aspect lands, Moon square Uranus at 5:47 in the evening, which rewards keeping your plan flexible. Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto are retrograde, and that supports review. Aries, today rewards the part of you that leads with warmth rather than force. Yesterday, the moon opened in your house 11 of gains, friends, and wider networks, so you likely felt buoyed by good company and a sense of momentum. On the work front, the Sun and Jupiter both stand in Leo in your fifth house, the place of creativity and self-expression, which favors putting your own name on the idea instead of hiding behind the group. Venus, your period lord, sits debilitated in Virgo in your sixth house of daily work and service. So keep your systems simple today and let one careful review replace 3 rushed ones. In relationships, Aries, that same fifth house warmth is your opening. Speak first, speak generously, and the payoff is a conversation that finally feels playful again. For energy, the moon moves from Aquarius into Pisces, your 12th house of rest and retreat at 12:13 UTC, so plan your demanding work before midday and let the afternoon be quieter. Mars rules you, and courage reaches you before caution does, which is a real strength when it is paired with pacing. The wide, friendly momentum you felt yesterday now settles into something personal and creative. Somewhere today, feed someone who is hungry, quietly, expecting nothing. Wishing you a calm and steady day ahead. Taurus, today favors letting your public life rest on a private foundation, and that foundation is where your real strength is being built. Yesterday, the moon opened in your house, 10 of career and public standing, so this period likely found you turned inward, home-centered and quietly reflective, even while others watched. On work and money, the moon sits in that same 10th house of career and reputation this morning, moving into your 11th house of networks and hopes at 12:13 UTC, which makes the later part of the day a better window for reaching out than for pushing a visible result. Notice how the Sun and Jupiter both light your 4th house of home and roots. Your professional confidence is being fed from where you live and who you come from. In relationships, Taurus, Venus, your own ruler, sits debilitated in Virgo in your 5th house of creativity and affection. So warmth may arrive plainly rather than grandly, and plain is enough. You build slowly and you build things that hold. For energy, keep the day unhurried and let rest be productive. That gathering at home is the whole shape of today, and it is worth honoring. If you can, cook a little extra and feed someone who is hungry, asking nothing at all in return. Let today be simple. That is enough. Gemini, today gives you unusual momentum in your own hands, and the way you talk to people is the tool that opens every door. Yesterday, the moon opened in your 9th house of belief, learning, and long journeys. So, a wider, more searching mode has likely been sitting with you since that moon still moves through your ninth house this morning before shifting into your 10th house of work and public standing at 12:13 UTC, which favors turning yesterday's big thinking into one concrete professional step. Your period Lord Venus sits debilitated in Virgo in your 4th house of home and foundations. So keep spending plans simple and let home decisions wait for a calmer hour. Mars and Uranus both sit in Gemini, right in your first house of self and body. And Gemini, this is where your curiosity and your effortless way of connecting are genuinely true of you. In relationships, that same charge asks for patience. The moon squares Uranus exactly at 1747, an hour when words come faster than thought. So pause once before replying and the day stays warm. Physically, move that restlessness into your legs rather than your nerves. The white morning narrows into one useful step by evening. Somewhere today, share a meal with someone who is going without. May something small go beautifully right for you today. Cancer, today favors getting clear about what you own, earn, and value, and that clarity is available without a fight. Yesterday, the moon opened in your 8th house of shared resources and deep change. So, something jointly held may have been on your mind. Today, the sun stands in its own sign of Leo with Jupiter beside it, both in your 2nd house of income and self worth. That supports honest money talk for you. Look at one figure today, an invoice or a rate, and say it out loud. Venus, your period lord, is in Virgo and debilitated in your 3rd house of everyday conversation. Cancer, this asks you to slow your wording rather than doubt your warmth. Send the shorter message, then ask one clarifying question. The moon shifts from Aquarius into Pisces, your 9th house of wider horizons, just after midday at 12:13 UTC. You are ruled by the moon and you read a room before anyone in it says so. With Mars and Uranus in your 12th house of rest, give yourself a quiet hour. Return to that 2nd house question about income tonight and answer it plainly. If you can, feed someone who is hungry today, expecting nothing back. Your free full chart is on the website whenever you want more detail. Carry this lightly and have a truly good day. Leo, today your presence does the introducing, so let others come to you rather than working to convince anyone. Yesterday, the moon sat in your house of partnership and close alliances, and with the sun lighting your own sign and 1st house, you likely felt visible, warm, and easy to notice. On money and work, Venus is your period lord and sits debilitated in Virgo in your 2nd house of earnings and resources, which simply asks for modest, careful handling of spending today rather than any grand gesture. Choose one small financial decision and make it plainly. Jupiter travels beside the sun in your own sign, Leo, and you are ruled by that sun. Warmth arrives ahead of you before you have spoken. So, a partner or close ally will meet an open door. That is the payoff of your restraint with money. Goodwill you did not have to buy. The moon moves from your 7th house into Pisces and your 8th house at 12:13 UTC. A good window for a quieter evening and an earlier rest. Today settles into steady confidence held lightly. Somewhere in that ease, feed someone who is hungry, or sit a while with a person who has been alone, asking nothing back. The day is yours to shape. Shape it kindly. Virgo, today favors the work no one sees you doing, and that quiet layer is where your real progress sits. Yesterday found you in a reflective, inward phase and that softness is still with you this morning. The Sun and Jupiter both move through Leo in your 12th house, the place of rest, retreat, and inner work. So visible output matters less than clearing your own backlog. Mars in Gemini sits in your 10th house of career and public standing, which supports steady, behind the scenes preparation rather than a loud announcement. Here is what that quietness pays out later: clarity in one relationship. The moon spends the morning in your 6th house of daily work, health, and routine, then moves into Pisces, your 7th house of partnership, at 12:13 UTC. From midday, Virgo, conversations soften, and that is your window to say the thing you have been drafting in your head. Venus, your period lord, is debilitated in your own 1st house. So hold your self-assessment gently today. Precision is instinct for you, and quiet service is the shape your care takes, but you need not audit yourself. Rest is the ask this 12th house arc makes. If you can, feed someone who is hungry today, asking nothing at all. Move through today at your own pace. It is the right one. Libra, today favors the quiet, creative work that only you can shape, and your own inner circle is the room where it lands best. Yesterday already had the moon moving through your house 5, the place of creativity, romance, and play, so you may still feel that light, expressive current running under everything. On work and money, Mercury sits in your house 10, the house of career and public standing, which supports careful, well-worded communication with people who decide things. Keep one message simple today and let it do the work. Saturn and Neptune both sit in your 7th house of partnership, Libra, and Saturn there is debilitated and retrograde, which is a kind invitation to slow a conversation down rather than settle it in one pass. Your ruler Venus is in Virgo and debilitated in your 12th house of rest and retreat. And that is not a loss. You find the balance point in almost any room, and today that room is a quieter one. The moon leaves your 5th house at 12:13 in the afternoon UTC, so front load the playful work. Let the day close as it opened, softly. Offer someone a warm meal, quietly, asking nothing. May the day meet you kindly and leave you a little lighter. Scorpio, today favors letting your public work speak while you keep your private ground steady. Yesterday, the moon opened in your house of home, family, and inner ground, so the day likely felt turned inward, close to your own roots. The Sun and Jupiter both move through Leo in your 10th house of career and public standing, which supports visible effort. Put your name on the work you have already done rather than starting something new. Venus, your period lord, sits debilitated in Virgo in your 11th house of networks and gains. So a group plan may move slowly. Ask one direct question instead of waiting for consensus. Scorpio, you are ruled by Mars and you go deep where others skim, so your resilience is easy to underestimate, especially with Mars in Gemini in your 8th house of shared resources and hidden depths. That is the promised payoff of the slow group day. What you research quietly now becomes leverage later. The moon shifts from Aquarius into Pisces at 12:13 UTC, which is a good window for lighter, warmer contact, so rest your body after that. Today the inward pull and the outward light meet. Offer someone a meal or a quiet hand, asking nothing back. Whatever today asks of you, you have met harder days than this. Sagittarius, today favors teaching what you have already lived and saying it plainly. Yesterday the moon opened in your 3rd house of courage, siblings and short journeys, while the Sun and Jupiter together in Leo lit your ninth house of philosophy, travel, and higher learning, so the day likely felt wide rather than pressured. Venus, your period lord, sits debilitated in Virgo in your 10th house of career and public standing, so polish rather than push. Keep the promise small and the delivery exact. That restraint has a specific use a little later. Sagittarius, your ruler Jupiter still stands with the Sun in that ninth house, and optimism is your default. The honest search matters to you more than arriving. Here is where the restraint pays. With Mars and Uranus, both in Gemini, in your seventh house of partnership, someone close may move faster than you would, and your modest promises keep that exchange warm instead of competitive. The moon crosses from Aquarius into Pisces, your fourth house of home and rest, at 13 minutes past midday, universal time, so let the afternoon soften and stay close in. Hold the wide view lightly today. Somewhere along the way, feed someone who is hungry and let that be all it is. Let today be useful rather than perfect. Capricorn, today favors a clear-eyed look at what your money is actually for, and that clarity is worth more than any quick gain. Yesterday, the moon opened in your second house of money, possessions, and what you value, and that likely pulled you into a quiet, introspective mood about deeper things. The Sun sits in Leo in your 8th house of shared resources and deep transformation, so joint finances, a repayment, or a shared account is a good window for honest review today. Note one number you have been avoiding. Mercury in Cancer sits in your 7th house of partnership, Capricorn, which supports plain conversation with a spouse, close friend, or business partner. Say the simple version first and let them answer. Your period Lord Venus is in Virgo and debilitated in your 9th house of belief and long view. So grand plans may feel flat right now. Keep the pace modest and let energy return on its own. You play the long game by nature, not by discipline, and Saturn, your ruler, made you that way. So the introspection that opened yesterday is not heaviness, it is a settling. Somewhere today, quietly cover a meal for someone who needs one, expecting nothing at all. Walk gently today and let the day come to you. Aquarius, today, your own presence is the strongest instrument you have, so lead with it rather than explaining yourself. Yesterday, the moon opened in your house 1, your house of self, vitality, and how you come across, and you likely felt clear and quietly at home in your own mind. That clarity continues this morning as the moon sits in your sign, then moves into your house 2 of resources at 12:13 UTC, which makes the earlier hours the better window for decisions about work and money. Saturn, your ruler, sits in your 3rd house of effort and communication, debilitated and retrograde, and that simply asks you to say things twice, kindly, rather than assume you were understood. Aquarius, you think from an angle nobody else tried, and that shows in partnership. The Sun and Jupiter both sit in your 7th house of relationships, so someone close is inclined to meet you generously if you speak plainly. Your period Lord, Venus, is debilitated in your 8th house of shared things, so keep joint arrangements simple and unhurried today. Energy is steadier when you rest before you are tired. If it feels right, share a meal with someone who is going without one, asking nothing in return. May today bring you one moment worth remembering. Pisces, today favors a quiet reset before you step back into your own light. Yesterday's moon in your 12th house of rest and letting go likely felt inward and softly withdrawn, and that was fair. On work and money, Venus, your period lord, sits debilitated in Virgo, in your seventh house of partnership and agreements, so shared arrangements may need patience rather than pressure. Keep terms simple, restate what you understood, and let a partner's slower pace be workable. There's a shift waiting once the moon leaves the 12th house and enters your own sign at 12:13 UTC. That's your payoff, Pisces, from midday. Your presence carries again, and conversations that felt one sided become easier to steer. Jupiter rules you, and it is compassion that moves you first, while imagination reaches where analysis cannot. That is simply true of you. For energy, the moon squares Uranus exactly in the late afternoon, so plans may reshuffle. Hold your schedule loosely and give yourself a slower hour rather than pushing through. The quiet of this morning was preparation, not delay, and the afternoon shows why. If you can, feed someone who is hungry today, or sit with a person who has been carrying something alone. Let that be enough in itself. Go easy on yourself today. The stars are patient, and you can be too. May this day treat you gently, and may you meet whatever it brings with a steady heart and clear eyes. Take the guidance that fits your life and leave the rest. You know your own days better than any chart does. Move at your own pace, rest when you need to, and let the small good moments count as much as the big ones. If there is one kind thing you can do for someone today, without being asked and without expecting anything back, let that be the part of the day you remember. If today's sky was useful, subscribing keeps it coming every morning.